We're so glad you are joining us today. My name is Rebecca Lowell, and I'm on the team at the Wild Wonder Foundation, which is hosting this class today. The Wild Wonder Foundation is dedicated to encouraging nature connection and conservation through attention, curiosity, art, science, and community. You can learn more about our work at wildwonder.org. We are so grateful today for today's teacher, Bethan Burton, an artist and environmental educator with a passion for the natural world. She is the founder of International Nature Journaling Week, a global event that brings people together as a worldwide community with a shared passion for nature and creativity. She is also the host of the Journaling with Nature podcast, where she explores the joys of nature journaling through conversations with creatives from around the world. Bethan loves to combine creativity and with her passion for gardening, and she has found that garden journaling has helped her become a better gardener and a more connected, joyful steward of her home patch. All funds raised will support Wild Wonder and our many free and low-cost resources that help people connect with nature. Thank you for your support and for helping share the joy of nature journaling with others through your generosity. A few notes before we begin. I want to give a special shout out and big thank you to Ivea Moore, who is helping backstage. Because this is a webinar, your camera and mic are disabled. This is a 90-minute class. Please use the Q&A feature to ask questions during the presentation, and we will get to as many of them as we can at the end, but also as we move along, Bethan might ask us if you have questions. So please share your class notes and drawings on socials using the hashtag Wild Wonder Foundation and tag us at Wild Wonder Foundation. I will now hand it over to you, Bethan.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Ivea and Beth backstage. And thank you for being here. I am just so excited to share this moment with you. I am really, really passionate about nature journaling in general, but garden journaling specifically. Garden journaling has helped me connect with my garden, learn all sorts of things, be amazed and in that sense of wonder, and just live a life of more joy. And I hope that we can tap into that a little bit together today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share. I hope you've got with you your nature journal, something to draw with, something to make color on your page, and we'll go along. I'm going to share with you my garden and the things that light me up. So I'm going to share my screen now and we will get going. So I've got this little slideshow to talk about what we're going to do today. So nature journaling, you know what that is, of course. Garden journaling specifically is about garden journaling, nature journaling in our cultivated spaces. And I think of garden journaling as a conversation with the garden. So when I put something down on my nature journal page, I'm listening. I'm listening to what's there, what's growing well, what's not growing well, what's responding to my care and what's not. And in that way, my garden is teaching me things and I'm listening to that conversation and then responding. So back and forward with this conversation. It helps me learn about the garden. Everything that I put down on the page sticks in my mind. And so I'm learning specifically about what's happening in my garden, but that information goes in and I remember it. It really is for me about love and care. And so you might have heard John Muir-Laws talk about this idea of love being sustained, compassionate attention. And I really believe that we can do that with our garden, with our cultivated spaces. When we are paying attention, we are giving love and sharing love. And we are getting to know this space, this little patch that we have in our care. And at this moment, I want to say that you don't need a garden. You don't need a specific dedicated garden, but you do need some plants that are in your care. And so it could be a window box, it could be a patio garden, it could be a series of potted plants on your steps. So this is what I mean when I say garden journaling. And it becomes like a field guide to your patch. You're going to notice what is happening in your area, and you're going to get to know it and document it. And this book, this garden journal, becomes incredibly valuable. So there's a whole lot I can say about garden journaling, but I'm going to leave it there because coming up in September, I'm going to be doing a garden journaling workshop for the Wild Wonder Nature Journaling Conference. I hope that I'll see you there. That class will go into all the things about garden journaling that I do for my own practice, and that, different ways that the garden journal can help us. So I'll leave it there. But for today, we are going to talk about garden visitors. And I wanted to say that there are so many reasons why you might document garden visitors. But the ones that came to my mind straight away were that it connects us with this amazing, amazing web of life. And so when I'm out there in the garden, I just feel connected to something bigger. I feel like all these little stories that are happening around me are part of something huge that I am one little part of. And I'll tell you this story about about this caterpillar that's down here in the corner. This interaction with this caterpillar was one of my most profound, most moving experiences of my life. And it sounds odd to say that, maybe, but maybe not to you because you're a nature lover too. But it was during the COVID lockdowns, and I'm lucky enough to live in a place where I have a patch of green that I could go out to. And I sat in the late afternoon with this little patch of grass, and I was just reflecting on the whole moment. And then this caterpillar that was so exquisitely matched with its environment. It looked like a seed head. It looked like a grass seed head. It it was up like this. It was up in this incredibly majestic way. And the afternoon sunlight was coming down, and it noticed my movements, and then just in the most the most beautiful, most gentle, most glorious way, it just lay itself down on this stem of grass and became the grass because it was so camouflaged. And I remember thinking, this moment with this little caterpillar in, a greater uh, scenario of the COVID situation where everyone was scared and isolated. And it made me think that if we tap into it, we are actually connected. We're connected with the caterpillars, the butterflies, the ants, the birds. Nature's doing its thing, and we can tap into that anytime we want to. And so I put that there because this was a garden visitor that moved me very deeply. And we can do that. We can tap into this connection with the web of life. And so we're going to explore some of that today. I put here sharing the harvest because, as gardeners, sometimes if you've spent a lot of time and energy growing a crop, it can be very hard to share that with the caterpillars and anyone else who comes by to have a munch. But when I have built a relationship with the garden visitors, it helps me to realize that we're all part of this garden, that it doesn't belong to me, that I can help it along, and that it's also home to a whole host of other visitors. And it helps me take what I take and also give give what I can or give what they want to take to the garden visit as well. So it makes gardening that it makes more ease in the gardening process because I'm more able to share with those that are there. It becomes a community science project. So when you are documenting your garden in this way, month by month, year by year, you're actually documenting something really important. You're documenting what is here in your environment in at this time. And that record is actually something very significant. And you're going to be able to look back on that and realize what's changed, what was there in abundance that isn't there now, what is there at this time of year that's changing. And so it might not feel like it, but it's actually a really significant document that's going to be important and useful in the future. And the other reason is because it's just completely and utterly fascinating. So let's keep going. So I have some invitations and some intentions for this session. What I want is for us to put down perfectionism, self-criticism, and rules because we can do this our own way. Because anything to do with perfectionism and self-criticism, I don't know about you, but I have this inside me, this little monkey mind that says that's not good, or that's you can do better than that. Whatever it is, whatever that little voice is, I want us to put it down now as we move into this session. And I want us to pick up curiosity because as nature journalists, that's our way of being. We're going to go into this with curiosity. And curiosity for me leads to wonder. And wonder, I feel like these three things are a chain. When I'm curious, I realize that everything around me is a source of fascination. And when I realize I'm in this world and everything around me is incredibly fascinating, then I feel joy. And when I go into my garden, it's joy. It's this bubbling joy that I feel. And so those are the things I'd like us to leave behind for this hour and a half together. And those are the things I'd like for us to pick up and take with us. So we're going to get to know visitors from the sky. I was thinking about this, about what we were going to talk about today. And in my garden, visitors come down from the sky. Visitors are on the plants, and there's visitors in the soil as well. And so we're going to look at these three levels uh, of the garden ecosystem and get to know those visitors in my. I should have said that I live in Brisbane or just outside of Brisbane in a little village, and this is the ancestral land of it's Jinnaburra country, and it is subtropical. It's a subtropical region. So the things we're going to explore are going to be from that part of the world in Australia. And so I'm going to share with you my garden. We're going to have a conversation with my garden, and I'd love for us to have a conversation with each other. So as I go along, I'm going to say to Rebecca and Ivea, if there are any questions, then shout them out, and I'll talk about that on the as we go through. So I'd love to hear your questions as well. I want for this to be a conversation between us. Now, this is a journal page that I did at the back of my garden, and I put this up here because uh, this was done out with my notebook on my knee. So none of it was done at home. You can see it's very scribbly, very scratchy. But just in this tiny patch of grass, this is what I saw, all these different visitors and all the stories. We talked about having being part of a web, and all these stories are happening all the time. Now, this I put here because you might one day be documenting something botanical. With this spider on the left-hand side, I was documenting. I started out drawing a basil flower, and then out of the basil flower came this white crab spider, and I just abandoned the flower and went for the spider because it was so interesting. And it happens with this one on the right-hand side too. You might be drawing something botanical, and out comes a garden visitor. So let yourself follow those stories of the garden visitors. Sometimes you'll abandon what you're doing and just go down the rabbit hole discovering. This one on the left, the spider, there was a tiny spider on the back of it, on the abdomen, and I thought maybe it was a baby. But in fact, when I did some research, it was actually the male. So there's this big white spider and then the tiny male on the abdomen, really flat. It was quite fascinating. This was from one of my very first journals that I kept personally. I kept field notebooks as an ecologist before that, but this was in 2012. And I had this beautiful family of crows in my backyard. So I put this here because I want you to know that you can document garden visitors with a whole story. Or on the right-hand side, this is just a very quick sketch that I did of some magpies that visited the front garden. And you can just sketch them down. You can document a moment or a whole story. Now this, we're going to do a little practice with this. This was done for the backyard bird count, which is a community science project that they do here in Australia every year, where people go out for 20 minutes and they capture some information about the birds that they see. And this was mine. And I illustrated it. And as you can see, I put a quick illustration and a count. So this is something that we can do, and we're going to do it now together. But you can just put a sketch and then do a tick mark for how many of that bird you can see. So I saw one Pacific duck, I saw four rainbow lorikeets, and you can mark them down. And so I'm going to show you a way of doing that in your garden journal. So let me get rid of this. Now, can you see, can you see it all? I've got here, this is a laughing kookaburra, and it's one of my favorite birds. And he's been coming around lately to my place, so I thought that we would start with him. So when you're gardening, birds are going to be all around, and they're part of the ecosystem. They're part of the garden network. And so I think it's really important to honor them by putting them in our garden journals. So what I'm going to do, I thought we could do this thing. I don't know what it's called, but we're going to give it a go. What I thought is we could make a bit of a table and document our garden visitors this way. And you could do this with birds, but you could do it really with anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bird here. So come with me while I sketch this kookaburra. I'm sketching with a pencil. Let me adjust myself. But you can sketch with a pen or whatever you want to do. And again, I'd love for us to revisit that idea of putting down perfectionism and picking up curiosity, because I don't want to spend too much time fussing with the details, but I do want to notice the details of this beautiful bird. I notice the markings here. I notice this big, strong bill, different colors from top to bottom. So I'm sketching it very lightly with this pencil, and I will go over with some color, maybe. So I'm just using a regular 2B pencil here. I'm going to use now just a fine liner. This one's actually sepia, but you could use black or whatever you wanted to use. I'm happy to answer questions while I'm sketching these birds. We're going to do a few birds, and then I'll show you what I had in mind for how to keep track of them during the month. So while we're doing this, if there's any questions, you can shout them out. And if not, that's fine too. You can sketch along with me.
Hi, Bethan. This is Rebecca. We do have one question. Um, it's about your reminding yourself to go out and nature journal. So Esteban asks, do you have a special routine to remind yourself to nature journal in your garden?
Yeah, thank you, Esteban. I generally go out in the afternoon, and I have a young son, and he, requires me during the day often. And I tend to check my garden in the afternoon, and um, and then when I'm out there, I'm just so excited and fascinated by what's going on there that I want to write that down. And so um, it's not so much it's not so much that I plan it out. Um, I just want take a wander in the afternoon, and then you fall, as I said before, you've kind of fall down the rabbit hole. And um, so that's what I do. I just take a walk in the garden in the afternoon, and then I find that my interest is piqued and I want to go out and I want to find out more. So maybe if you need a reminder, um, just let the rhythm of your day, if you work full time, you might not have any space in the middle of the day, but you might get into a rhythm of finding some time to wind down in the evening or in the afternoon, and go out, see what rhythm you can find in the day. And so for me, that's the late afternoon. I find it such a beautiful time of day to be out in the garden. Yeah. So I'm just putting down these markings on the kookaburra. You can see there's this beautiful um, speckled blue on the wing and this amazing tail. So I have put down just the color of the tail, and I'll go back and um, fill in those markings. But for now, I'm going to just put in some color for the branch. Now, what I want to do is I don't want to spend too much time on each bird, but I want to show you just what I was thinking in terms of um, keeping track of the birds, the garden visitors. What I'm doing is just measuring out some some spaces, and I'm just doing this really roughly because it's not. You could you could do this with more precision in your own journal at a later time, but what I wanted to do is just show how you might go about keeping track of birds in your garden journal over the month. And while the kookaburra is drying a little, we could, um, what are we, July?
We do have another question. It's about the size of your journal. So
Hmm.
what sort of size garden journal do you like to use typically to
Yeah,
draw
that's a
every
really
day?
good,
Yeah.
that's a good question. So, my journal is a Stillman and Burn alpha series. So the paper is nice and thick, and it is a little bit creamy, and it's A4. So that's equivalent almost to your letter size. Um, and I find that this is good for me. You might find what I want to say is that you want to find what works for your patterns. So um, if you are using your garden journal on your knees in the garden every day, uh, then you might want a smaller journal, or this might work for you. I do a lot of my journaling on scrap paper, and then I come in and I do it at my table inside. And so this big book works for me. You might want a smaller one if you were doing that more, on your knees in the garden. So just go with what works for your patterns and find the book that works for you. But the big size works for me because I'm doing it inside a lot. Um, Okay, so this is the galah. So what I'm going to do, we're going to go down just quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on the details of each bird, but I want to show you that you can make this kind of illustrated guidebook to your garden. These are the critters that have been visiting my garden lately. This is a galah. They're so funny. They're quite big, very, very beautifully colored, and they make a ruckus. They um, they chew up things. They make a lot of noise. Sometimes you see them spinning around um, on posts. What do you call it? Electricity poles. They are beautiful. I just love this pure magenta color that's on his neck. And again, I'm using a pencil, but you can do this straight with pen. You can do it any way you like. You can also draw, you can draw from life, but you can draw from your own photos. You can draw from a guidebook. You can identify the bird and then draw from a guidebook. Everything is valid. Every way that you want to do it is valid. So I'm going to take pure magenta here, and I'm going to fill in this neck piece. I've done his neck too stumpy, as you can see, and that doesn't matter because I'm putting in the main features of this bird, and the pink and the gray together are what is going to remind me of this fellow. Okay, so maybe I'll go in and write down the names. Spelling mistakes are allowed. I think I spelled that incorrectly at first. All right, let's move. Oh, this is a absolute ubiquitous mainstay the of the Australian experience. This is the Australian magpie, and I just love how the neck is stretched up. They have this beautiful song. So I'm going to capture with my pencil just a quick sketch of the body posture, which is stretching up, and the legs out. And then we might use because of the coloration, I'm going to use this black ink pen. So shout out any questions that you have along the way. I'm just going to do these birds and oh, that one's not working. I wonder what birds you have in your garden. If there are visitors that come around all through the year. This is another beautiful thing to notice. Are there birds that are there all the time? And you might notice some that are there all the time and some that are there just seasonally. And I noticed recently that the kookaburras are coming around, and that's something I hadn't noticed before, that they're actually kind of seasonal, and this must be the season that they come back. And noticing that in your journal is lovely. There are some very dramatic entries that that come back yearly. One of them is a cuckoo, a channeled-billed cuckoo, and the channel-billed cuckoo goes to Southeast Asia, I think, during one period of the year, and then comes back and lays its eggs in other birds' nests. And sometimes uh, you can see them being chased dramatically across the sky because the birds are onto them and they don't want to be duped in this way. So they chase them dramatically across the sky, and that's a seasonal thing, which is quite funny to watch. And also, I've seen uh, a small bird, feeding a very big cuckoo baby that obviously they lost the battle and ended up raising this giant bird. So these are the stories you can document in your garden journal.
Hi, this is Rebecca again. We have a question about your previous bird. Um, Someone
Yeah?
wants to know if the last bird flies or if it's like a chicken. How
Yeah,
does it
great.
move? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So they do fly. They're quite big. They're about as big as a loaf of bread. Um, and they do fly. They fly in flocks. But when they're foraging, they're often seen on the ground altogether. So that's why this one was foraging on the ground. And sometimes you might see 100 of them on the roadside all together. So they fly about, they go on often on telephone poles, uh, and then you see them foraging on the ground for grass seeds or something.
Love
Okay.
that.
There's,
We have another
there's
great question. So, if
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
don't know the name of the fascinating bird that you're looking at or creature,
Mhm.
do you draw it first and then research and label the name after?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I love that. Yes, that's happened to me before, where I'll see something and then I don't know what it is. And then that's a beautiful way to get to know it because, as I said before, you're putting that down on paper is going to help you learn. And so you kind of strike this match of curiosity, and then you're going to be extra careful with details. You're going to notice all sorts of things that you wouldn't have noticed before, and put it all down on paper, uh, and then the more detail you capture, the easier it's going to be to find it in a guidebook or wherever else, and um, it will the process of putting it down on paper is going to spark your interest and curiosity, and the details you gather is going to help you find it. So, yes, that's a beautiful question, and that's happened to me before. And then when you've put it down, uh, you're going to remember it, and then you'll never forget it. And that's the beautiful thing. There's been species that I've investigated in my garden journal that I feel deeply connected to just because of the process of of documenting it. So this is a bird called the noisy miner, and they are rascals, and um, they come around and they make a ruckus and they pick on bigger birds. Very funny. Come they come in packs, and they might pick on other birds, and you'll see them sending off other birds in a pack, and they live up to their name. They're very noisy.
I love their eyes.
Yeah, the yellow patch is gorgeous.
So, someone
So
wants to know if you have a bird bath in your yard.
I do. Thank you for asking that. Oh my goodness. I love the idea of a bird bath, and actually it's kind of like well, when we talk about garden journaling, we can talk about dreaming up what we want our space to be, um, what we want our dream garden to look like, and then generating that. And recently, I think it was for my birthday, which is in April. Um, I received a bird bath and I was so excited, and I haven't seen anyone bathing in it yet, but um, it makes me smile every time. Okay, so I'm going to move on from this exercise, but I just wanted to show you that dropping perfectionism, I have to coach myself. You can see that my lines don't match up at all, and that's okay. You can do yours with more precision next time. But um, what I wanted to do with this exercise is show you that uh, we can have these of list of our common backyard visitors and then just keep track of them. So in July, you might have seen 3 kookaburras. When you were looking outside, you might have come across a whole stack of galahs. Magpies you see every day. And so over the month, you might see 12 magpies in the month. And this is a lovely record. How many noisy miners? I saw 3 yesterday. So over the month, you can use this simple method to capture, to get to know your backyard visitors, who's coming around regularly, and then you might notice, oh, I only saw 1 kookaburra in August, and then I didn't see any in September. And this is going to give you a lovely rhythm uh, to your garden journal, and you'll be able to see patterns. And if you do this regularly with your garden visitors that come from the sky, uh, then you're gonna see patterns. I don't need that one. Um, yeah, this is going to show you all sorts of patterns that you might not have noticed before. So let me check all my timings. So we're going to move on now to, oh my goodness, I'm not going to do this because I've run out of space on my page, but this is Rainbow Lorikeet. I forgot about him. Sorry, little one. Rainbow lorikeets are actually, so I showed you the page with the backyard bird count. The rainbow lorikeet was voted the most seen bird on that survey one year. Uh, and we see them all the time. They come over the trees and they make a beautiful trilling sound. And just as you settle into the evening, they find a tree and they're all jostling and jostling for space for a perch, I guess. And it just sounds like this incredible mishmash of sounds. It's so lovely. So, sorry, little rainbow lorikeet. Next time you can make it onto the bird list. Okay, so I'm going to shuffle everything over, and we're going to move on to things that are on the plants. So I think of garden visitors coming from the sky, the plants, and the soil, and we're going to do all of those things together. But uh, now we're going to look at things that are on the plants. And this is a little caterpillar that I saw who, what I'm going to draw its uh, body shape first, just very quickly with a pencil, and then I'm going to draw the details. Yeah, this helps me as a gardener to, like I said, to relax because gardening uh, can, you can sort of feel like um, you're battling with the visitors if you're attached to getting the entirety of the harvest. I wonder if you've ever felt this as a gardener that it's a battle. And in that battle, sometimes people use, you know, substances or poisons um, to get an advantage. And I never want to do that in my garden. I always want to work with nature and you'll find that when you embrace garden visitors, uh, they're going to help you. Some of them are actually going to, um, some of them are going to work in your favor, and some not, and that's okay. So this was a zucchini flower, and this little visitor here was enjoying enjoying a feast on this zucchini flower, and it was okay. I find that embracing and getting fascinated by garden visitors uh, helps me relax in the garden because it's all for joy. The whole thing is for joy. And I wonder if you have a little patch of green that you can cultivate, and if you feel that, if you feel this sense of joy, I actually have a name for it, which I say is shimmering joy. Because when I go out there into the garden, I just feel this sense of something's happening inside me, something beautiful, and it feels like it's moving. I wonder if you've got a name for that feeling, that name for the feeling of just intense, overwhelming joy that you feel when you're in nature. When I get it when I'm in nature, of course, but especially when I'm in the garden. And the shimmering joy is just the most amazing reward.
I love that. And I know exactly what you mean about wanting to garden with your visitors and not against them. So thank you for talking about that. Um, we do have a question. Actually, a few people have asked, what do you do if you don't have a garden? If you want to nature journal and you don't have your own garden, what do you have
Yeah,
a suggestion for that?
that's a great question. And I always recognize that having a garden space is a privilege that many, if not most people don't have. And so I think that it's rather than having a big garden space, it's about having plants that are in your care. And when I was young, I went and I lived in London for a little while, and I was in the middle of this big, bustling, one of the world's biggest cities. And I have always had this sense of needing to care for something green, needing to have something in my care. And so in this big city, I had uh, at the doorway of this, I lived in a bedsit. It was really like urban, and I had some pots all in a row, and they were various things. I had a little patch of carrots and uh, yeah, what I'm trying to say is that even in a bustling, busy city, you can find a way to have something in your care. It doesn't have to be a garden as such. It can just be plants in a pot. It can be, oh, well, the simplest, very simplest way that you can do it. Um, is just something on the kitchen bench. This just happens to be here, but it's cabbage microgreens. So you could sprinkle microgreens into a little tub of soil, and something you're going to have something in your care to grow. And that's what it's about. It's about having something in your care. It could even be house plants. It could be a window box. It could be, you could have a little patch of potted plants on your veranda if you have one in an apartment. So uh, your your ability to care for plants is innate. Your desire and ability to have plants in your care is innate, and there are ways in any situation to have uh, to to indulge that beautiful thing that's inside you. I've just got some pencils here, and I just thought that I would whiz over this to show you that you can also use pencils. I'm using, these ones are um, Prismacolor pencils, but you can use whatever you have around. And I'm going to do this really quickly because I want to show you that uh, you can keep your garden journal in whatever way you want. It can be neat, it can be messy, it can be whatever lights you up, whatever connects you. That's what I say often, is that it doesn't matter what you make, it's whether it makes you feel connected with what you're documenting. So if you are if you're nature journaling some garden visitors and you make a very messy sketch that makes no sense to anyone, but you feel more connected to your garden, then you've done it. I love the sound of the scratchy pencil on a paper. I also want to show you kind of how quick this can be. It doesn't have to be a big production. It doesn't have to be something that takes a long time, because everybody's got stuff going on. Everyone's got busy days. And so if you can take a moment to be with a caterpillar, to notice your garden, then it's going to increase that level of joy. It's going to connect you with your garden visitors, and it's going to make life better. I think that garden journaling makes life better. I think actually having plants in your care makes life better. So what I'm going to do here is show you a little video. Let's do on the same page something else. So this is a little video from my garden. What I want you to do is take notice of the movement of this little creature. This is actually a hoverfly. You can see how quick it is, and that's what I wanted to show you here, that sometimes it's really hard to find uh, the details of a garden visitor. I show that whole scene because that was me chasing it around the garden. Here it comes to rest. I'm going to pause, and I'd love for us, first let's sketch it, and then we'll do some writing about it, because I think that I haven't done much writing yet, but I think writing about garden visitors is really important. And as a nature journaler, you'll know just how important these two things, drawing and writing, are together in concert, in unison, so that you can capture more and more detail. So I'm sketching the wings and noticing the little details. So there's stripes on the abdomen here. There's this interesting little shape on the head, and I'll even put in the flower. This is actually, I think it's rocket gone to seed. So I call it rocket. You might call it arugula, I think, if you're in North America. It's got this beautiful, I think of the colors of the flower like the color palette of the 1970s. It's kind of muted and kind of drab, but in a really great way. Okay, I'm going to put these details down with my pen. And then what I'd like us to do is do some writing about the movements, because capturing movement is a really interesting thing and can be challenging, but it also gives a lot of information about the insect or the visitor. You can see that I'm just doing this quick. Yeah,
Sorry,
please.
no, go ahead. We have a few other questions if you're willing,
Yeah,
if it's
absolutely.
so how do you determine the spacing on the page for your drawings?
Thank you for this question. I am absolutely unplanned. I just let it, like my gardening style, it's completely unplanned. No, I'm not unplanned in the garden, but I let things grow organically. So I just uh, put down something that interests me, and then I just find another blank space and put down something else. So some people really meticulously plan out their pages, and I just don't do that. Um, I just I let it evolve.
I love that. Me too.
And
Not sure
they
if this is,
become,
no, sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, I was going to say they just become a mishmash, but I mean, I don't know if you saw my garden at the front of the presentation. It is a mishmash, and so I find it appropriate.
I'm
What were
not
you going to
sure if
say?
this is possible, but is there any way to zoom in on the fly in the video anymore? Or is it
Oh,
fixed?
let me
Someone's
see. I don't
asking if we could
think
see him
so.
close.
I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it's fixed. Sorry about that. Just wanted to check.
yeah, thank you. But this is a good exercise because sometimes you can't see all the details, but you can put down what you can see, and uh, that's useful. Yeah, what I mean is like that's the real way that you're going to be able to do it in your garden journal when you're doing this in your own space, and so we'll practice that. So what I'm doing is adding this little detail. So this is actually a hoverfly, and it's got these details. It's got striped orange and black abdomen. And I'm just picking out the bits that sort of characterize, or the bits that I noticed that seem important, and I could look them up later. So while that's drying, I'm going to put down something on this flower. One thing that I wanted to say that I think is really important is if you have a patch of land that you're caring for, I love to put I love to let things flower. So this is a rocket plant arugula plant that is that correct? Is it arugula? Anyway, um, rocket is what I call it, and um, I let it flower, and I let it flower for a really long time, and it becomes a source of food and sustenance for garden visitors. And so if you have the chance to let things that you might pull out to make space for the next thing, uh, it's very valid and important to let things flower and let them provide habitat and sustenance for garden visitors. Even though it might not be productive, it's still important. So that's all the details I'm going to put here for now. I have I have my pencils down here. There's so many of them, 150. I didn't know which ones I might need, so I just grabbing them willy-nilly. This one looks that is more accurate, I think, of that little abdomen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video again, and uh, we're going to watch the movement of this little fly and see if we can put down some words about it. So think about what words you might use to describe the behavior of this fly. So he's kind of hovering like a hummingbird. He's moving from place to place quite quickly and then disappears. As I said, I put this jumbly part of the video in because I wanted to show you. This is sometimes what I do. I'll chase the visitors around the garden. There it is. Found something to settle on. And now it's moving. It's found somewhere to settle. Oh, can you see that? I don't know if you can see it, but the proboscis or something in the mouth parts of the fly is going in and out of that flower, and the abdomen is moving up and down. I'll play that little section again. Can you see that? So this is what I do actually. I take my phone and I will put it on video mode and I'll just video the garden visitor and then uh, and then I can take photos from that video later. And also you capture the behavior. So let's write down some things. I'm going to write down hoverfly on a rocket flower. And then uh, I can put down some information about its movements. So I'm going to say, because it's this idea of comparison, what does it remind you of? It reminds me uh, of a bird, a hummingbird moves like a hummingbird. I've never seen a hummingbird, and I'm going to see one day, and I'm so excited about it that that these beautiful birds exist, and it's like one of my life goals to see one. Moves like a hummingbird. Um, what else did we say it was doing? It was darting around the garden. And I saw its abdomen moving up and down. So you might draw something that symbolizes that movement. I'm just going to draw a little arrow like that and then say abdomen moving up and down. So that is our quick little depiction of a hoverfly and its movement. So yeah, we can capture what they look like, but we can actually also capture their behavior, and that's really important, especially if you want to um, look it up in a guidebook later. So let's move on to the next one. This is a European bee, and we're going to watch a little video of it as well. So this one's shorter. This is a bok choy plant that I let go to seed. And you can see him snuffling around, looking for pollen, going from flower to flower. I can see some pollen sacs on the legs there. So let's find a good place to pause the video and draw. I just find them so adorable. Mhm. I'm going to scroll back, find a good spot. I want the eye and the wings. Let's go with that. Okay, so let's just find it again, just open the page doing its thing. So this is a European bee on a bok choy flower. And again, we can, this is just done with my phone video, and we can spend time spend time following the bees around. We have in Australia the most amazing native bees, and I love watching them do their thing. We have a little beehive in the garden, and they're stingless bees. They come and go. They're so beautiful. And I also really love the European bees. And We talked about the value of this. Why would a person decide to document the the garden visitors? Well, the plight of bees is quite a sad one, and we need to encourage bees. We need to value them and realize the ecosystem services that they deliver and that we could not even survive without them. And so just doing this, just spending some time following a bee around the garden is going to help us connect with these incredible, invaluable creatures, and um, and then maybe garden in a way that um, helps us value them, helps us create ecosystems for them, help us, leave some plants to flower so that they have something to forage in. And then maybe take action in other ways. This is what it's all about, I think, that we fall in love with nature, we start to live our lives in a way that is consistent with care and love for this incredible planet. I think that we as nature journalists have a special insight into just how incredible this place is. And we don't forget that nature is so wondrous and so unlikely and just the most amazing gift. And if we don't forget that, then we get to revel in it. We get to live a life full of joy because we're connected with that reality that nature is wondrous, and it's here for us to enjoy while we can. And then head out into the world, change your behavior to take care, to to live to live gently, and to spread the message that we've got to do this. We've got to take care of this beautiful, beautiful world. So I am just putting a color over the top here, and then once that's dry, I'll put the black parts in. I'm going to do a little bit of this flower just to show how bright it is. And then while that's drying, we can go back and do some notes about um, the movements of this beautiful bee. So let's see. Let's just watch it again, and then we'll write down what we notice about its movements.
This is
So
Rebecca. I just wanted to say everything that you just said was so beautiful, and I love that deep meaning into why we nature journal and the good that it can do for our community and our world. So thank you so much. I feel like all of that you just said should be in a book. It was beautiful.
Rebecca, thank you so much. It's really, really nice to hear that. And I come back to this. It really is about love of nature, and us paying attention seems inconsequential when the whole world is kind of in this state of chaos. And yet this is where we find our center. This is where we connect. This is where we make a connection with the wider world and this beautiful web that we're part of. And although drawing a bee in your nature journal doesn't seem very big, it is actually really big. It is this amazing thing that we can do. And so don't forget that paying attention is really, really important. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Okay, what are we going to write about this bee? We're going to say, I think it is, the word that comes to my mind is snuffling. I wonder what words come to your mind. I'm going to write snuffling in the flowers. What else can we say about its movements? I can hear a buzzing sound. Buzzing a little, I'm going to write. You write what comes to your mind. So you might take a scrap notebook out with you when you're gardening, because sometimes you have a garden journal that feels like a precious thing. And I want your garden journal to be a working document. I want it to be something uh, that you feel is going to be able to be used. You don't want it to be like this archival thing that you're too scared to use. And at the same time, you might have like your nature journal that's kind of finished, or like you might have your good your good version, and you might take a scrap notebook out with you into your garden when you're doing this, and just take notes, and then you can do your details inside. And so there's no right or wrong way to do it, but um, don't let your garden journal be too precious. You can't get dirt on it. But also don't worry if you want to have a scrap journal and write all the details about what you see, and then uh, do a final one. Because when you're doing that extra thing, when you're diving um, into the details, if you're in doing it indoors, it can be its own form of, learning and getting to know it. So we're going to move on to, I'm going to skip this guy, but I wanted to have him there because uh, talking about making a heart connection, this grasshopper was on my kale, and it started off really small, and I noticed it on the kale, and I didn't move it. We have chickens in our backyard, and there is a gardener's temptation to take the grasshopper and feed it to the chicken. I'm sorry. But I didn't do that. I left it there, and I just loved this beautiful juxtaposition of this bright, bright green and the purple of the kale. And over the weeks that this kale was growing, the grasshopper was growing as well, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, uh, and I made a heart connection with this guy. And when I um, when I went out each day, I would look around the kale and see if I could see my friend, this grasshopper. So you really can make a heart connection with your garden visitors. We're going to do a super, super quick sketch of this spider, because spiders just fill my garden, and I just really, really love sketching them. So we are going to do a very quick sketch of this one, and then we can move on to the soil visitors, because soil, well, if you're a gardener, you'll know that soil is everything, and that the quality of your soil makes or breaks the quality of your harvest. And so, and soil visitors are a big part of that. And so we'll do that. But first, we're going to dwell a little bit on the beauty of this spider. It's got this interesting thickening of the web here. I can see the spider's legs are in pairs in this cross shape on these thickened parts. I wonder, we can ask these questions. I wonder, it reminds me of what we can wonder about. Why these bits? Um, do they make the web stronger where the legs are? Do they serve a function of attracting certain things? So what I'm doing here is I'm just drawing the bits of the web that are in between. Actually, I might go over this first. Spiders are just so interesting to me. I love them. And these ones in particular seem to make their home in my garden. I wonder what they're eating. That's another thing. I'm going to write some wonderings down. as a way of connecting heart to heart with my garden visitors, you can speak to them directly. I wonder what you eat. You can do your wonderings as questions directly to your garden visitors. I wonder, um, I wonder why you make your web that way. I have had this experience because I talk about questions a lot. I have had this experience where uh, I've asked a question in my nature journal and I didn't know the answer. And I often talk about questions and how we don't need to know the answer. Um, but asking the question uh, puts it out there. It puts the question out there in this most amazing way. And then later, many, many months or years later, you might know the answer. And that happened to me one time. I had this question, or I was nature journaling about something, and it looked it looked like a caterpillar, but not quite. And I didn't know what it was. Um, and then later, many years later, because I had asked the question, the answer came to me, and it was such a validating thing because it was like it made me realize, yes, actually, you don't need to know the answer straight away, and it may come to you. It may not, and it doesn't matter because in asking the question, you're connecting, but it might come to you many years later. I wasn't following the actual pattern of this spider web, but um, just showing that these main strings are uh, connected to these smaller strings. I'm just going to put uh, I want to get through as much as we can and show you my garden. So I'm not doing all the details as I would in my normal garden journal. Um, but just getting the biggest details is important. So like the color of these stripes, and you can look it up later. I would suggest taking a notebook down with you wherever you go and writing down the details and trying to stay away from. I use my phone as a videoing device, but it's really good to stay away from using your phone to look up things in the field, I think. I mean, you do it, stay away. At the start of this session, I said we don't want rules, and there aren't rules, and if that works for you, then do it. But for me, the smartphone takes me out of that sense of presence, and so I try to do my looking up later, and that actually helps because if you're looking up later, you pay more attention because you want to get all the details down so that you can look it up later. So that works for me, but do it how it works for you. So I'm going to skip this one too, but I just wanted to show you his beautiful coloration, and coloring. Color is super important to me, and uh, I think that noting down color in the garden um, is such a great way to connect, and so important for information for getting to know your garden visitors. So if I did uh, these two colors and just did the quickest little sketch of this bug, then I would have information that I could use later. So I'm doing this little bug and it splodges, and that's enough. If you just have a moment, and this is also again about making it accessible in a busy life. You can see that I've done that in less than a minute, and I've got some information down about it that I can use later. So um, I can draw a little arrow from there to there. That's one way of capturing the garden visitors. Okay, we don't have too much time left together, but I want to honor the soil and the soil visitors by drawing some of them. This is my hand after having rummaged around in the soil in my patch, and I'm not even gonna draw with a pencil now because um I want to get through these little ones. So soil creatures help us build the most amazing soil. I've been working on my soil for a really long time, and when I put a trowel in the soil, uh, I just get, 5 or 10 earthworms, and it just feels so good. And I realize that this is a healthy soil. And paying attention to the presence or absence of creatures in the soil can give us information about the health of it. So I recently did a workshop for a group called Sustainable Gardening Australia, and they invited me to do some topics that I hadn't really thought much about before. And one of them was nature journaling the soil. And it really stretched me in ways that I very much enjoyed because I I hadn't really thought about why you might nature journal the soil, but I took two patches of my garden. I've got some raised beds, and in one raised bed, everything is really, really flourishing, and in another one, it wasn't flourishing in the same way. And it was so interesting to take the soil and actually count how many worms are in this soil and notice how much diversity of soil creatures there are. And uh, I think the soil and the quality of the actual texture and structure of the soil was different between the two beds, and it was interesting, an interesting thing to notice. And I wouldn't have noticed it if I hadn't put it down in my garden journal for this session. So, and one, I really, really believe that when we nature journal something, it's a form of honoring. And so I feel like we're honoring the soil creatures and all that they do for our garden when we put them down. So right now we're just honoring this beautiful earthworm. We have just 10 minutes together, and I would love to take some questions if there are any.
Yes, we do have a few more. You've brought up color a few times, and Diane asks, how accurate do you try to be in the color of your subject?
I love color so much, and my passion for color came because I was mixing for a very long time without knowing what I was doing, and sometimes I would get it right and sometimes not. And so I started to learn a bit about color theory, and I noticed after I um, after I studied color theory, I'm going to move on while I'm chatting. This is a big spider that was in the soil of my garden. I just wanted to show it to you just to know that Australia does live up to its reputation of having a lot of creatures. Um, color theory. Yeah, so I try to be accurate, but again, I call myself a recovering perfectionist because I used to let perfectionism sort of rule me, and I realized that it was stopping me making anything. And so now I try not to buy into it. And so I will give it a go to be as accurate as possible with my colors because I believe that it's useful to note the colors. But if I don't get it right, exactly right, then um, then I move on. Also, what you can do is um, you can write that your color wasn't quite right. You can literally write this screen, you can make a color swatch and you can write this screen is too bright. The real green was darker, or whatever it is. You can write down, you can let your words and your pictures work together to capture the color. And if you can't get it quite right, the more you practice with your colors, the more you're going to get it right. But let it wash over you. If you can't get it quite right, that's okay. And you can just note that with words. Keep the questions coming if you have some.
Sure. We have a couple more. So, do you have favorite brushes for your journals?
I am pretty well like I don't use a water brush. I prefer like a normal brush. Um, I do have favorite ones. But I'm pretty happy with whatever as it comes. These ones are the ones sorry. I have these in my field journal, in my, the kit that I take with me, and these are called Rosemary and Co. And I got these from Art Toolkit. And this one's a very teeny one. I can quite literally put that in my pocket. This one's a bigger one. I think it's a size 6. They're both round brushes. And this one is super cool. It's called an eradicator, and it's got this flat kind of thing. And if you have watercolor paper, you can lift the color with this eradicator brush and take it out. So leave, if you've forgotten to leave the white, you can pick it up with this amazing brush. So those are my favorites, but I also am very like, I can use whatever.
Thank you.
This is
Those travel brushes look amazing. That's really neat.
yeah, they're really useful, and I like to have a kit that you can just put in your pocket quite literally.
Another question.
Talking about color.
Sorry,
Oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. I was going to say that I'm just using here a split primary palette, so two yellows, a warm and a cool, and warm and a cool red, and warm and a cool blue, and I find that you don't need anything else.
Thank you. Yeah, you're getting a really nice variety of color with all of those.
I generally don't have a green in my palette. I just mix it up.
Yeah. So
Sorry,
another,
interrupt.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
go
that's
ahead.
okay. That's okay. Another question is, do you have a favorite spider?
Oh, yeah. Well, this one that I had before is called a huntsman, and they are very common here, and I would say that they're my favorite. They look impressive. I used to live in a place that was close to a national park, and we had huntsmen that were so big, they were as big as a plate, and you could hear them when they dropped off the ceiling or the wall. You could hear the thump of them. And although they look mean, they're actually really lovely. So I think that they're my favorite. It's a huntsman. Right now I'm drawing a beetle larvae. I didn't talk about this guy, but this is the larvae of a beetle. I don't know which one. Um, Potentially a rhinoceros beetle. It's got these little hairs on it. Um, so these are garden visitors that I just wanted to honor as well. I'm going to stop there because I want to leave the last 5 minutes for questions if there's any more. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to say what I was doing there.
Thank you. This has been so amazing and fascinating, and I feel like we could just keep going, but there's all good things have to come to an end. Um,
Are there questions?
there is another question, and that's kind of a good note to end on. So someone wants to know, Crystal asks, how do you honor the creatures that eat your entire crop, i.e. a gopher? So she says their kids have worked so hard on their garden, and one year a
Oh,
deer ate all of it. So different sort of critters, visiting and eating a lot. How do you honor them? What kind of space do you create for them?
that is an amazing question. And I must say, we don't have gophers here in Australia, but we do have possums. And possums are marsupials, kind of like your opossum, only a different face shape. Uh, And I have had the experience of having, I don't know if you've had this experience, but growing things from seed, you become so attached to them and they come up, you just feel so motherly towards them, you want them to thrive. And then going out, I must say, this is a hard one, going out and seeing that instead of all your beautiful little seedlings with the leaves, you've just got a series of stalks, and the possums have decimated it. Um, you have to bring a level of acceptance. It's hard. It's really hard, especially if you're gardening with kids and they've put a lot of effort into it. What I do is I try and just bring a sense of levity, and it is hard. I don't really have um, good advice about that, but I just I find life in general, but I find gardening and just the world so funny and odd. And so I try to come at it with that sense of just like, oh, look at this farce. I put so much effort and energy into that, and now it's gone. And then it gives you the opportunity to start again. And I know it's really, really hard. Uh, but you just have to look at it as this farcical thing that we call existence. I don't know. I just find it all so funny. It's funny and not funny at the same time. I wonder if there are any more questions as we round up the onto the half hour.
Yes, we have one last one. A 14-year-old attendee is asking, do you have a favorite insect?
Oh, what a beautiful question. Do you know insects are, these overlooked creatures? A lot of people just kind of find them annoying or frustrating, but they are such a vast group of animals and so interesting and fascinating. And I think I don't know if I can pinpoint one, but let me show you. Let me show you something. Um, I was sketching in my garden and I had my garden journal with me, and I was watching this wasp, and I'm going to share my screen again so that I can show you what I'm talking about. Um, this big wasp, and I think it was not a stinging kind of one, but it had this amazing um, thing here, and I think it's called an ovipositor, and it was poking at the wood, and it was kind of feeling around, and then it would inject this into the wood, and I think it was laying eggs in there, and it was just so interesting, and I'd never seen anything like it. I'd never seen something so fascinating. So I'm going to say that this, and now when I studied ecology when I was at first at university many, many, many years ago, and um, my my biology teacher told me if you're going to say scientific names, just say them with confidence, and it doesn't really matter what they what you if you get it right or not. If you say it with confidence. Um, but I don't know that I can say this with confidence, but it's an ichnemoid wasp. And uh, I'm going to say that that's my favorite. This is a page of my nature journal. I found this common crow butterfly there, and this was something else, which was that for some reason, there was mites crawling around on my garden journal. So I titled it Mite Mania, and then I just followed these mites with my pen, and this is what they did on my journal page. While I've got you, just in the last few moments, I just want to show you some things because to me, microscopy is really important. And if we're talking about insects and garden visitors, it can be really useful to have some tools for helping you. This is just this is just a little hand lens, a loop, and I got it from this group, The Private Eye, which you can get online. And it just magnifies by 5 times, but I put this over the camera lens and it is amazing. Uh, that's how I studied that mite. This is called a phone scope, and it attaches to your phone, and you can magnify with that. This is a beautiful tool which I inherited from my dad. He was a naturalist and used to carry this in his pocket. That's just a little hand lens, but it's through 30 times. And this you can also get online. This is it's called a currency detecting microscope, and this actually magnifies the world by 60 times. So it's quite a thing to use that. It's very, very portable. You can put it in your pocket. So these are some of the magnifying tools that I use, and it can be really, really useful when you're investigating garden visitors.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. That looks amazing to use and try and see a different perspective, right? Get up close and personal with your garden visitors.
That's
So
it.
also, if in the chat, if you want more garden journaling with Bethan, she is going to be at the Wild Wonder Nature Journaling Conference. For anyone who hopped in late, she mentioned that at the beginning. So don't forget about that. Passes are on sale now. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. Thank you for this amazing class. We've enjoyed all of it, and we have so much positive feedback, and everyone saying thank you. And a reminder that this class is hosted by the Wild Wonder Foundation, which is dedicated to encouraging nature connection and conservation through attention, curiosity, art, science, and community. You can learn more about our work at wildwonder.org. We are grateful to today's teacher, Bethan. Thank you so much. All funds raised will support Wild Wonder's many free and low-cost resources to help people connect with nature. Thank you for your support and for helping share the joy of nature journaling with others through your generosity. And something that came up today that I thought we could just mention real quick is if you don't have a garden, don't forget about community gardens, public spaces. Maybe you could even volunteer for them. So that's another way to garden journal. If you don't have your own private garden, check out the community near you because there might be some places you don't know about yet. And a big thank you to Ivea, who helped backstage. Thank you so much for fielding all of those questions and helping me ask Bethan. So we will be emailing you all a link to today's recording by August 15th. And in that email, we will also send you a survey. We're eager to hear your feedback. And if you have drawings from today, please share them with us. We'd love to see them. Tag us at Wild Wonder Foundation and use the hashtag Wild Wonder Foundation. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining. It's been amazing, and we hope that you find more wonder and joy in the spaces around you. Thank you.
Love. Thank you, everyone. Take good care.
Bye.